Habs insider Arpen Basu revealed two potential great trade targets that the Montreal Canadiens could go after this summer. We have to dive into the possibility of Cole Perfetti and Dawson Mercer, plus some details have been potentially revealed about the Juraj Slafkovsky and Kaiden Guhle contract extensions. All of that coming up on this episode of Habs Digest, and we're going to start with the contract extensions, Jesse, and well, we got a lot to talk about here. Now, as you guys know, Slafkovsky and Guhle, well, they're eligible for extensions this offseason, and Basu went into great detail about it, and I'm going to read some of the stuff here. So he asked, what could a contract look like for Juraj Slafkovsky? In his opinion, though, Jesse, the Habs have set that trend. They've set that precedent with Cole Caufield getting just under captain Nick Suzuki. And they think, hey, Caufield played ball. That culture is there for Slafkovsky to do the same thing. And as the salary cap is rising, this kind of thing is just going to be better and better. I know we talk a lot about this, and I know a lot of fans are saying things like, hey, we'd love it 8x8 or something like that. In my mind, if you can get Slav this off season for under Caufield money, I think that might go down in a couple of years as one of the bigger steals in the NHL.
Yeah, and just like how Cole Caufield really played ball, I think Juraj Slafkovsky will as well. And right now is the time where we need to be having this conversation because Kent Hughes is absolutely thinking about it. And I think that's what's so nice about this young core, Josh, is not only do we have our leadership with Nick Suzuki, and there we kind of set our bar of ideally an ideal world for right now, so to speak, at least for the foreseeable future, to have everybody kind of slightly under that as the leader, obviously the best player on our team at the present moment. But we know this contract is all about the future as well, right? So I believe if we could get Slav in some type of 7.5 for 7 to 8 type of year deal, this would be absolutely so amazing, because as this article very astutely points out, it's all about opening up that contention window. And when you're able to really do that competitive window by now having your top line really established, what that then opens for this team to really able to build out this team further is really quite incredible.
That's actually a great point. That chemistry that you can build when you have that level of certainty with your top line. Now, I know there's people saying that maybe eventually they'll split them up, because we have seen Slav play very well with Dach, and Dach is going to be due for a contract next year as well. There's a lot of stuff that can move around, but your three top players, like 3 of your best players, locked down long-term on reasonable deals. The Habs are single-handedly countering inflation by just paying less and less and less. The rest of the hockey market must be so upset when they see this stuff, but I would love it. I think that would be such an amazing steal. And hey, if Arpen thinks that precedent maybe has been set, I think we might be in for quite a good contract for Juraj Slafkovsky. But it's not just him. Now, there are also other guys, like Justin Barron needs a contract this offseason. Arber Xhekaj needs maybe an extension. But there's another guy in Kaiden Guhle. Now, full disclosure, I wanted to say this first. Like, they don't have to sign this offseason. The question is whether they would want to do it right away. And it's it's respectable choice to take another year and wait it out and see what you can do next year. But honestly, getting that security after your entry-level deal is always really nice, especially if you like the team and culture. But let's move on to Kaiden Guhle. Now, we talked a bit about how it was impacted by the Alex Vlasic signing with Chicago, a bit of a surprising $4.6 million per year deal for Vlasic, who's quite good defensively. And we compared Guhle to the Jake Sanderson deal, which is over $8 million a year. And Basu is saying maybe something closer to 5 years, $5 or $5.5 million a year. The Habs would surely jump at it. And this is something I know you mentioned, Jesse, something very around that number, but to me, that might be an even bigger steal than the Slafkovsky contract, because according to a lot of advanced metrics, Kaiden Guhle is like an actual good top pairing defenseman, and he's been playing a lot of right D. I think if the Habs could get him locked up for that, what Arpen thinks they can maybe get, that might be one of the most slept on contracts in the league.
Yeah, it's interesting to see these precedents getting set on the market. We know that Kaiden Guhle, can very much be even a much more effective, NHL top line type of pairing guy, right? So absolutely, I think, if you're able to do the 5 million, 5.5, as we were kind of talking about one of our recent lives, like that would definitely be the way to go. Now, we know Kaiden Guhle, he's got the leadership. We know he's great, two-way defenseman. The only issue is the injuries, and I definitely get that. I think that's the only other question when we're talking about Kaiden Guhle is about the term. I still think if you can do a 4-year deal, you want to balance out kind of, the fact that maybe there might be some injuries, but at the same time, all the savings that you can get from those long-term deals. And again, it's all about the competitive window. The Montreal Canadiens are looking to sign Kaiden Guhle to a longer-term deal. That's what they do want to do. But of course, we know that injuries come up. We have to be careful handing out these long-term deals, but you have to feel like Kaiden Guhle is really a big part of this team. For you, Josh, do the injuries bother you? Are you signing him tomorrow to a 4-year deal? Do you want to go 3? Do you want to go 5? Where do you sit on this?
I think a 5-year deal is fine. The injuries don't really scare me. In fact, like, I don't think it's necessarily the fact that he's injury prone. I think he's had some pretty freak accidents, but I mean, I guess you could say that for any injury prone player. What I kind of like is that when you got that kind of injury history, this is going to sound weird when I say it could benefit Montreal, but it could, simply because of the fact when you have that kind of injury history, you're more likely to want to sign a longer term deal, maybe for a monetary value a little less than expected, to compensate for the fact that you're not sure if you're healthy. And I think Guhle has shown enough, and I think he has been relatively healthy enough, without any just like constant nagging things, that I would give him that money in a heartbeat. But let us know down below what you guys think. Are these steals of contracts like we seem to think they are? Let us know your thoughts down below. But we're going to get into the other part of this video, Jesse, and this is the exciting part, some potential trades. Now, in this article on The Athletic, which I will link below because it's a fantastic read. I mean, Arber often make very good articles. He mentioned some potential trade targets this summer for Montreal. And let's get into some of them. The first person, well, he actually mentioned 4 or 5 people, but there's 2 that I wanted to focus on. The first one is Dawson Mercer. He's a guy we've talked about, not really at length. He was kind of a bit of a pipe dream for me, saying like, I love Dawson Mercer, but Devils fans just don't seem to want to get rid of him. And the fact is, Montreal doesn't have a ton that they could really give them, and they say Dawson Mercer would be one of them with the New Jersey Devils, but considering young defensemen or draft capital are not things the Devils really need, they don't seem to be an ideal trade partner. Same logic would apply to Alexander Holtz. Now, Dawson Mercer had a bit of a down year this past year with only 33 points in 82 games, 20 goals though, with 27 goals, 56 points the year before. Another Newfoundland boy, of course, could pair very well with Alex Newhook. Dawson Mercer, Jesse, now I know the Devils don't really want draft capital. I know they don't really want defensemen. But why couldn't they do something similar? Like they move out Dawson Mercer for something that they do need, and then the Habs get Dawson Mercer in kind of a 3-way thing. Again, remembering what the Habs did, sending out Romanov for picks and sending picks for Dach, right? So it's possible. I feel like it's not the best trade partnership, but I feel like a guy like Mercer could really thrive in Montreal's system.
Yeah, for sure. The team's taking a step forward. You got to feel like Jeff and Ken, they're eager to really reward them. And you got to feel like Jeff even more so, right? And Ken's is kind of always keeping that long-term plan. But this is a way where you can really help the team now. 20 goals scored for a team that needs a lot of goals, that lost a lot of 1-goal games, right? That's a huge addition to this team, right? So it's one of those moves where it's helping the team, but obviously opening up that window even more, right? So, you have to feel like you have to be paying attention to these type of moves where we're getting better, but we're not necessarily selling the farm to get a player of this magnitude right now, because, Kent has said that this summer they want to do stuff, but maybe next summer is going to be really the big one. So I could see kind of a trade getting some of these younger type of guys, maybe some vet, but more of the trade route than really that big free agency next summer. But I mean, New Jersey has a couple young guys that really interest me.
Yeah, and I know you like Holtz as well. I think Holtz is one of those guys that in the right situation, he could just be a game breaker, 30, 35 goal kind of guy. And yeah, really exciting to think about. Mercer again, and the Devils may not be the best trade destination, like you said, but it is interesting to think about. And I do think he'd be a great fit. 6 foot, solid with the puck, good goal scorer. I think he'd be awesome. And the Newfoundland connection, how could you say no? But the other guy, this is a guy that we have mentioned a couple of the times on the show, Jesse. It's a guy that, his name was kind of circulating around in the playoffs this year, and that is Cole Perfetti. And he's interesting to consider because he could not get in the Jets' playoff lineup until Game 5 of their series against Colorado, and he got 1 minute and 34 seconds in the third period, and they got Toffoli leaving and Monahan leaving. The Jets still need some good players, and Perfetti had 19 goals, 19 assists in 71 games. He was the former number 10 pick, but Winnipeg has a bit of a problem on defense. They need to help replace the DeMello situation, the Brendan Dillon situation, and the Jets want to win now. It depends how they see Perfetti. Like, is he ready right now? That's the one thing that we brought up as well when we were talking about him. And again, like, he's a very talented, very skilled young player. He had 30 points in 51 games 2 years ago, 38 and 71 this year with 19 goals. I think the Jets probably want to keep him, and they probably do see him as being good in their competitive window now. But again, potentially losing Sean Monahan, they really probably want to run it back, especially with Mark Scheifele still being there. They have some talent that is aging that is still quite good. Connor Hellebuck. Do you see this as a potential target for Montreal? I know Perfetti's only 5'11", and Montreal has kind of said they wanted to go for size. but it's not often a guy of his caliber is just available in this situation where their team's trying to win now and he's kind of in that younger bracket. What do you think about Cole Perfetti?
I think it makes a lot of sense and a little bit more of a likelier trade partner just for that type of situation, right? And I think I'm so happy that we're talking about this type of player, right? I think this is who we should be talking about. This is who the Montreal Canadiens internally should be discussing about prying away one of those key young star players, because that's really the ideal world, right? When we can get a young star in the making, because again, why? It's helping our competitive window not to just be successful for 1 year, but for many years to come. So we're talking about the Cole Perfettis. We're talking about can we steal a Logan Stankoven, a Byfield, right? These are the quality of young players that we need to be going for, if not that bona fide kind of star top player, because we know those spots on our top six are limited and we need to choose them very selectively.
For sure. And again, Winnipeg and Montreal, they're trade friends at this point. I mean, Monahan was quite good for them. And, there are some connections. So I think as much as I do believe Winnipeg probably wants to keep him, that's what I have seemingly heard from insiders, that they do see Perfetti as part of the future. If they decide to go all in and really run it back, this team that lost pretty badly to Colorado in a series where they were just not themselves, right? They were one of the best defensive teams in the regular season, let in a ton of goals in that series. Next year could be a very different story where they claw their way back. It could happen. What do you guys think? I think, again, these are maybe somewhat unlikely trades, but hey, Arp and Basu kind of put them out there, including some other names. Go check out the article and let us know your thoughts down below on Cole Perfetti and Dawson Mercer potentially coming to Montreal. But for now, that'll do it for this episode of Habs Digest. If you enjoyed, leave a like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Thank you for putting up with this hotel Wi-Fi. We're trying to bring you these videos every single day. Today is live from Montreal, by the way, for those of you from there. So, hey, you gotta visit the city every now and then. I'm Josh Goss for my co-host, Jesse Poirier. Catch you in the next one.